On this episode of the Hanford Insider, we'll have expanded coverage of this weekend's Century of Memories celebration, marking the 100th anniversary of the dedication of the Hanford Civic Auditorium. Joining us are Brad Albert, Randy Shaw, Jack Schwartz, and Michael Quinn. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, June 2nd.
This is the Hanford Insider, the podcast where we dive into what makes our community tick. From local stories and hidden gems to conversations with people shaping our neighborhood, we're here to celebrate, explore, and connect. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. Whether you're new to Hanford or a longtime local, this is your source for everything happening in our town. From events and news to conversations with people who make Hanford such a unique community. I hope you enjoy the format. Now let's take a look at this week's community news. The Hanford City Council held a special meeting last Thursday to discuss appointing an interim city manager and the process for hiring a permanent replacement. The council decided to search for an interim city manager from within the current city staff to maintain continuity. However, if an internal candidate cannot be hired, then they'll look outside. The council also decided to hire an outside recruiting firm for the process of hiring a permanent city manager, and a nationwide search will be conducted. One of the more interesting comments I heard was by Councilwoman Nancy Howes, who asked for everyone to be more cordial on social media and during public comment portions of city council meetings. Council members agreed and reminded those in attendance that the meetings are streamed for everyone to see on the internet. I totally agree because let's face it, our next city manager probably already has their eyes and ears on Hanford, and they'd likely prefer working for a city with a more positive outlook than what is shared on social media and from the regulars who seem to have something to complain about at every city council meeting. The city will update everyone on the process as it plays out over the coming weeks and months. Now let's take a look at this week's community calendar. At this week's Thursday Night Marketplace, it's the Civic Auditorium Centennial Celebration with the band Blackstone. The King's Players production of Eat Your Heart Out is now playing at the Temple Theater. For more information about the production, including times and tickets, visit kingsplayers.org. Part 1 of the History of Kings County Agriculture display at the Carnegie Museum of Kings County runs through the end of July. The museum is located at 109 East 8th Street and is open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Visit CarnegieMuseumofKingsCounty.org for more information. The Hanford Elk Spring Craft Boutique will be held on Sunday, June 8th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The lodge is located at 506 North Doughty Street. The Hanford Juneteenth celebration will be held on Saturday, June 14th at Coe Park from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you have an event coming up and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. It's the most comprehensive community calendar available. Well, as we know, coming up on Saturday, June 7th, we have the Century of Memories celebration, the 100th anniversary of the dedication of the Hanford Civic Auditorium. And we've got a lot of people on today's show to talk about the event. And we've had a committee that has been meeting for several months about this day and special celebration. Joining me right now is Brad Albert and Randy Shaw. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, Rob.
So, Brad, let's start with you. It's a full day of activities, and rather than give all the information out, I thought I'd give you an opportunity to invite people to the day of activities. Let's start from the very beginning.
Yeah, so we have chosen Saturday, June 7th, as the day for the centennial birthday of the Civic Auditorium. The day will start at 7 a.m. with the Hanford Breakfast Lions serving breakfast inside of the Civic Auditorium. Outside in the park, Carnegie Car Show will be happening. So there'll be lots of activities in the park that day. It will be open to the public at that time. They'll be able to view our historical displays and have a nice hot breakfast to get the day started. Throughout the day, we'll have, the building will be open for folks to come in and look at the displays. And then at 3 p.m., what we're generically calling the program will be the official celebration of the 100th birthday of the Civic Auditorium. That celebration will include a lot of different things, but we've got a very, very special performance going to be happening that I know Rob will be talking about here shortly. But this whole event is really about, this iconic landmark of the city of Hanford and just all the things that have happened inside those walls over a century. In the planning meetings, we talk about, if the walls could talk, what would they say? So we'll be telling that story. We do have historical photos, and we actually have a video that kind of summarizes the history.
So as part of the celebration, we have proclamations from local politicians. We have participations from the Boy Scouts. We have the King's Fiddlers group that's going to perform. We have lots of different speakers, a lot of music, because that building has been the place for so many musicians and performers to perform everything from ballet to band concerts to barbershop groups. And we're really looking forward to it. And as part of that, I have together what I am calling the John Philip Sousa Tribute Band. When I interviewed Brad on the show about 2 years ago at the Winter Wonderland, we had a conversation about the upcoming anniversary. And I said, Brad, one of the things I've always wanted to do is put together a John Philip Sousa tribute band, and we could perform at the centennial celebration. And here we are just a couple of years later. And for those of you who don't know, the reason why the John Philip Sousa celebration is so important in Hanford is that his band actually performed in Hanford 4 times. They performed twice at the old Opera House. And then when the Civic Auditorium opened, they performed in January of 1926 and on Halloween on October 31st, 1928. And John Philip Sousa actually had some really great things to say about the building. When the building was built, people were like, you're going to build a building that big for the size of Hanford? Only had 7,000 people that lived in Hanford at the time. And the city officials, big surprise, got a little scrutiny for building such a big building. But here we are 100 years later, and just the investment that has been for us, it's been fantastic. So the Sousa Band will actually be performing 4 or 5 of the best songs. And at the end, we have a special celebration of Stars and Stripes Forever March. And then we'll sing Happy Birthday. And we get some free cake. So Brad, tell us about this cake that the committee's been working on. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, me neither. We're working with a local bakery to design and to make and bake a birthday cake that symbolizes the Civic. So it will actually physically look like a miniature Civic Auditorium with the columns and all of that. And once we sing Happy Birthday, everybody will be able to get a piece of the cake and celebrate together. This event is completely free for everyone. So we invite everybody to come out. We'll have tables and chairs set up. So it will be a very nice afternoon.
I'm really looking forward to the historical displays because the city has partnered with the Carnegie Museum of Kings County to acquire some great images of the building during the different eras, and also a lot of artifacts, including the ones that were put in the cornerstone 100 years ago. And Randy joins us now to give us some information about the historic items that will be on display.
Yeah, we have many varied things. A lot of things from the cornerstone. That was a fascinating thing in itself to get to open that, and be happy to get to share that with everyone that visits for the celebration. We have a few objects that were original from the auditorium when it opened, and one of them is the spotlight. It was made from a company that was famous for arcing spotlights that used a carbon arc. This one is actually an incandescent. but it was a very famous brand. So reading the interesting history about it, you'll get to read some of that and see it in the lobby. We also have the original dimmer panel, which doesn't sound like much to the average person, but if you see it, you can understand. If you've heard of steampunk, it kind of gives you that feel. It's a big, massive thing that's electrical, but it's kind of prehistoric, as you might say. And we have that on display there as well with some information about it. And what it did, it controlled all the lights on the stage. And it was the original one from when they put it in 1924 or 25. We also have the original set of chairs. These were in different groupings. Some were individual, some were in pairs, some were up to 4 in a cluster. These are pairs of 2. We have 3 sets of 2 left from the original chairs that were in Civic. And we have, what I do is I like to include a picture from something in the past where that object was being used. So we have pictures showing that chair was being used for an event. I think a church was celebrating their 75th Pentecostal or something, and having a dinner there in the Civic. And several items like that. We have historical items from the police department. The police department, as many people might remember that are longtime Hanfordites, where it was in the basement of the Civic Auditorium from like the 50s until the 70s. And they moved into their current location in 76. So there's a few items that you can see, some old badges, their batons. We're going to have their first uniforms from 1910, somewhere around there. And we'll have those on display as well. Mark Dillon and Hutch Hutchison, those 2 were the familiar guys in the 80s that you saw. We called them the Bobbies, but they were wearing the original uniform. So it was a community outreach for the police department in the 80s. And I think that was a great thing. I think it worked really well. So that's fun to see that. We have objects that we've gotten from the fire department, and you'll see a few of those, and also some pictures showing where things were and then what the object is. We have like an old dentist barber's chair, and that represents the time. There's always so many things we have that are directly related to the Civic. So we have a lot of things also that are within that time frame that gives you a feel of what Hanford was like. So we have a lot of pictures from the past. One exciting one that I haven't seen all the way through yet is a movie of downtown life in the 1930s. So that's a very cool one, donated from the Fox Theater. So we'll get to see that as well. We have video we'll be showing of us opening both the Civic Auditorium's cornerstone and the Veterans Memorial cornerstone. I suggested that they allow us to open that one since it was actually concurrent. While the Civic was still being completed, they had started the Veterans Building, and they're kind of intertwined because the county purchased the land from the city of $12,000 to be able to build the Veterans Building on that site. So they kind of were hand in hand. So the veterans groups agreed, and we opened them up, and there's some wonderful things in there that people will get to see. So we'll have a display case with those objects. We'll have another display case with all the Civic time capsule objects. Let's see what else. We have the original pulleys. That's Fredericks of Hollywood. Now, many people think of the fancy clothing and such from there, but it actually started out as a fabric curtain company, and you'll see the original pulleys that are no longer used from when they used to raise vertically. You've seen the cartoons where the guy cuts the rope and drops the sand sack on somebody, right? That's the kind that he used to have, and that was replaced sometime in the 90s, I think, or 80s. So we have that on display. We have the chairs that were in the chamber or the council chambers, and we did a remodel in 2010 that I was personally involved with, and we saved those old chairs. So we have a before and after showing that. So it kind of just shows the progress of time of some changes and what we've done in the building.
It's definitely a reason to come downtown on Saturday, June 7th, for sure. There's so much that's going to be on display, from historical artifacts to pancakes in the morning to cake in the afternoon. It's really going to be a great.
Yeah. That's nostalgia right there. I remember going to those pancake breakfasts when they had the parades, and that was always just a neat time. The atmosphere, having that, getting up in the morning, getting out there, and the Lions always did a great job. It was just kind of extra special being in the Civic.
Randy, I'm going to put you on the spot here for just a second because you work so closely with the buildings in Hanford, and we appreciate the work that you do keeping things up. Is there a secret story about the Civic Auditorium that maybe we don't know, something that you have come across in your work that just like blew your mind? I know you're involved with a clock for one, but is there something that just amazed you?
Well, I was telling Josh this morning when I was getting interviewed that what stood out to me when I first started looking into the history of this building was Eleanor Roosevelt. The fact that she came here and had a speech in the Civic Auditorium, I thought was really compelling because that showed that it had importance. Yes, they did she was on a tour throughout California, but and I thought originally that she arrived on the train. It would make sense, right? A lot of politicians and such did. She did not. She, with her entourage, drove here from the LA area, and she made notes of it in her personal diary about it, which you'll see in some quotes that I included under her picture. That's going to be a fascinating portion also, is just to see some of the more famous people that have performed or spoken in the Civic. And we have a whole section of displays, pictures and descriptions for that. But the fact that she was here, she was talking about human rights, but she also talked a little bit about the likelihood of us joining in World War II. And so that was a highly significant appearance that she made. But you look at the list of hit parade people that performed there, it is really amazing. They don't mean much to kids these days, but if you read a little bit about their background, how popular they were, it was like having an American bandstand in Hanford. It really was. And the only reason is because of this fantastic venue. Having the Civic Auditorium in 1925, when big band, swing, jazz was really picking up. So all those genres were growing, and it was the dances were crazy. They would have these dances and have these famous orchestras of musicians come and play. Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, big names for then, and nationally known, worldwide renowned. And they would have sold out packed house. So when they had a dance, in the Civic.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I had discovered in my research is that one of the reasons that we were able to attract some of these large big bands, the jazz era, was because of the location being so close to the Army base in Lemoore. And so that was pretty fantastic. And on Sousa's tours, he would tour around the best venues. He didn't just play anywhere. And when this building was built, he had people that had probably come out and scouted it out and said it would be a great place. And it certainly turned out to be that way. And that's what we're celebrating on June 7th. So, Brad, can you give us a real quick rundown of the events, just a real quick synopsis, and we'll wrap this up and send it over to the car show side of things.
Yeah, so for June 7th in the morning, like I mentioned, 7 a.m., the breakfast will be served from 7 to 11 a.m. The building will remain open for people to come in to see all the wonderful historic displays that Randy just shared with us. At 3 p.m., our program starts. Will probably last probably a little bit over an hour and 15 minutes, roughly. And then we will cut the cake, sing happy birthday, and have an opportunity. This building belongs to the community. So we're very, very happy that our June 7th event is really about that. And we invite all to join us.
Hey, I want to say one other thing, Rob, is that you're kind of not promoting yourself here, and that tell us how many members you're going to have playing in the John Philip Sousa band.
There currently are about 80 members in the band. And yes, we fit on the stage. And I always get asked that question, could 80 fit on the stage? And I said, well, Sousa put 100 up there, so I think we can probably do it.
Imagine that. Can you imagine hearing that back then with a 100-piece band?
Yeah, they actually closed all the stores and schools in town so people that could attend, and they made the tickets were cheap, not even $1, I don't think. But yeah, they literally shut down the town. It was such an impressive thing to have him visit for sure.
I read that he was celebrating his 50th anniversary as a conductor at one of those concerts that he had in the Civic.
Yeah, he definitely was celebrating his 50th anniversary as a conductor on that final performance, and he passed away several years later. But what a legacy. I know that my Portuguese friends have all been excited because we're celebrating someone of Portuguese heritage in that recent display we had at Carnegie Museum. I've got a lot of new friends, so that's pretty fun too.
Well, one thing I will say is, because of this celebration and requiring me to do a little more research on these different things, it's been interesting. Like John Philip Sousa, I didn't know much about him. And so I have even more respect for, what he did and that he was here. People like Eleanor Roosevelt, these early musicians. It was quite interesting. And I hope the public comes out en masse to learn a little bit more about their beautiful building and the past that Hanford cherishes and is known for, keeping the history in Hanford.
Yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of pictures taken. I know there's going to be a lot of video of this event, and we'll try to archive that the best that we can. We'll actually be live streaming the event on our YouTube channel, which is at Hanford Insider, and you can watch the ceremony live. It should be a great performance. I've got some equipment to make it extra special, and we're looking forward to the people that come. And then if you aren't able to join us, you can watch online a little bit later. But it certainly is going to be a fantastic day. And I think one of the things that the committee is most proud of is that this event is absolutely free. The car show is free. The pancakes aren't in the morning. Got to pay for those pancakes. But the event at 3 is going to be free. The exhibition is going to be free to come in and look at. And we're just so excited for this moment in Hanford's history because honestly, we haven't had a big event. We've had the celebration of Hanford's birthday with some cake at Thursday Night Marketplace, but I can't recall in my time in Hanford having a celebration this big, aside from the city centennial in 1990 and 91 that I was a part of with that committee. So this is going to be great. And I'd like to thank you guys for joining us. And we look forward to seeing everyone on June 7th.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Saturday is also the date of the 4th annual Carnegie Museum of Kings County Car Show, and we have with us Jack Schwartz, who is the president, and we have Michael Quinn, who is the car show coordinator. And welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here.
So, Jack, tell us, the car show is bigger and better than ever, and we've got a lot to look forward to on Saturday. Can you tell us a little bit about what people that come to downtown Hanford can expect?
Sure. We're expecting about 200 cars, maybe more, and they range from 1930s to modern. I'll let Michael talk more about that. But one neat thing is we always park our best in show cars from the previous years. And so those will be parked in front of the museum. And in addition, we'll have probably 10 or 12 food vendors, everything from Mexican and American and hot dogs and Filipino. We always try and get a good cross-section, and we should have about 30 vendors selling their crafts and their goods in the park as well.
So let's talk about the layout of it. It does take up a significant portion of the central section of downtown. Where are the streets that the cars are going to be shown?
Right. Dowdy Street from Warmerdam Alley by the library all the way down to 8th Street, 9th Street from Dowdy to Harris, and 8th Street in front of the museum, which is Harris to Dowdy, and then also in front of the courthouse, all the way almost to Irwin Street. So there's great picture opportunities for people to look at cars and have pictures with the courthouse and Civic Auditorium and all our historic buildings.
Yeah, for sure. So the cars start rolling in at what time? And then what time does the show officially open? And then I know you have an awards ceremony as well.
Right. Yeah. We'll be staging the cars and having them come in some around 7:30 to 8. Everything should be in place by 9 o'clock, including all of our food vendors and other vendors. And the show goes from around 9 a.m. until about 1:30 when there will be judging. And we should be done by 2 o'clock. And, of course, the Civic Auditorium celebration starts at 3. So it can be a full day all the way around.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a great celebration. One of the amazing features of this show is we have a car enthusiast, Michael Quinn, who spends a lot of time looking at these vehicles, going to different shows throughout the valley. And Mike, what makes this show in downtown Hanford so unique?
One of the things that really makes us unique is that we have a People's Choice Award, which we find a lot of the car owners really appreciate that because they try to communicate a lot with the folks that come to see the cars. They like to tell them about their cars. They like to tell them what they've done with them and how much time and effort they've put into them. And when they persuade somebody that their car is important, it means a lot to them. And then when the community as a whole says, that's our best, it means a lot.
So what are some of the categories and kind of vehicles we can expect to see?
Well, we have 11 separate categories, plus we have a top 10, which allows for honorable mentions beyond those that win in their specific categories. So what we've got is, as mentioned, the People's Choice, and then we'll have the Best in Show. We'll have a Hot Rod. We'll have historic cars, which are those prior to 1950. We have vintage cars, which we consider those from 1951 to 75. Then we also have modern cars, which are 76 to the present. We'll also include imported European and imported Japanese, which are kind of neat because we're trying to recruit younger people coming into the car shows. Then, of course, muscle cars and sports cars, which have long been a staple of car shows. And then we're also including an area for trucks also, because trucks are a big and growing segment of the collectible car market.
One of the things that I've noticed going to car shows, I'm not a car show enthusiast. I mean, I love going, but I wouldn't consider myself an enthusiast. But once we started the show in Hanford, I started witnessing a whole culture that I was completely unaware of, just how friendly the people are to talk about their cars. Maybe for someone who hasn't been to a car show before and they want to see what this is all about, what would you say to encourage them to come down and kind of witness this?
Well, first off, a lot of people don't realize they're car fans until they see some cars that are really unique and special. And then they go, oh my God, my dad had a car like that. My uncle had a car like that. I loved driving in that car when I was a kid. They've forgotten that part. The other part is, I've always thought that car was the coolest thing I ever saw, but I never see them anymore. And here it is today, or here's two of them. But the other thing that's really sharp is that many of the people who own these cars put a lot of time and effort into them. But it's not just for themselves. They really like to talk to the public about their cars, tell them what they've done with them, how they've worked on it, who's put the paint on them, who's done the mechanic work, if they've done it. A lot of folks, dad and son or dad and daughter work on the cars together, and it creates a real bond. And then they want to share that with the public. So if you're someone new getting into cars and want to learn how to work on these things, these folks are more than willing. They're very generous in their knowledge and their time to explain to you what they've done, the challenges they've had, how they've overcome that. And we stop and think they actually pay money and support our charitable organization and others throughout the valley for the opportunity to do this. They're very generous with their giving in terms of their time and their effort, and we're very appreciative of that.
So speaking of that kind of support, this is a behemoth undertaking with traffic control. Just so much goes into the planning of this event. And I know that it's not just the museum volunteers, although it is our biggest event of the year. There's a lot of other people that have contributed to the success of this fourth annual show now.
We always appreciate the city management and the businesses that surround the car show area for their support and cooperation, because that's the basis on which we have to get their approval before we can go one step beyond that. And this year, we've had really good support from Valley Strong Credit Union at 216 West 8th Street as a sponsor. And Chaco Clean has been a long-term supporter, and we're very appreciative of their effort. They're over on 416 East 6th Street. Of course, the museum staff works well to help us going. A lot of time and effort goes in behind the scenes. And, of course, the car clubs help us, too. So it's a large community effort, and there's a lot of moving parts. And we're always stressing to get them to come together, but it seems to work in time.
So to add to what Michael was saying about community support, it takes 36 volunteers the morning of the show, and we've been very fortunate to have the Hanford and police, explorers, and last year for the first time we also had the explorers from the Kings County Sheriff's, and they'll be back. And for the first year also, we'll have volunteers from the Police Athletic League program. So also CERT, CERT will be here for the first time. So we're expanding. The community is appreciating it, and it's a real synergistic effort.
That's great. We talked about all the museum volunteers, but there's also going to be volunteers inside the museum because the museum's going to have earlier hours that day, yeah?
That's correct. We'll be opening at 10 o'clock, and if it's a really hot day, we'll have a cooling station here. So people can come into the museum, go to the car show, come into the museum, see the history display at the Civic Auditorium, go to the Civic Auditorium celebration. It is a Hanford day.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I brought this up earlier in my interview with Brad and Randy about the collaboration that we've had with the city. A lot of the displays in the Civic Auditorium, we work together on with the city on those. And it's a great collaboration of history. It's like walking into Carnegie Museum 2.0. When you check it out, you can see all these pictures and some of our display cases that are going to be holding the artifacts. Let's continue on with the car show now. So the origins of this car show, Jack, have actually come through as a result of one of our exhibits that we had early on when we first opened the museum to the public. So how did this all come about?
Well, this came about, we had the Hanford Marchbank Speedway exhibition in 2021, and it opened on a cold November day, and somebody said, we should have a car show. So we closed down 8th Street, and on that cold, foggy day, we had 50 cars come in. And somebody said, hey, this is cool. You should do it annually. So we've been doing it ever since then on the first Saturday in June. So we came by it sort of by accident, but it's a labor of love. And we don't make a lot of money, but it is a fundraiser for the museum. So it serves not only to help the community, but also to help the museum.
By helping the museum, meeting the larger vision of the museum and what it intends to do in the future, how does it meet the vision of the museum?
Well, our mission statement is to preserve our history and to educate the community. And so by including a car show, it's such a large part of our history, particularly from the after the war and into the 50s, that we actually pull people from all over the valley, and it allows us to focus on one aspect of our culture that's very important to us. So by preserving it, by doing this on an annual basis, we're perpetuating the ability of people to learn and benefit from what's gone on in the past.
Well, that's fantastic, Jack and Mike. Thank you for visiting with us, and we hope to see you at the car show on June 7th.
And we had about 1,500 people come last year, and I think we'll have more this year. And the weather at this point should be under 100 degrees. So let's have everybody come out and enjoy a full Hanford day.
And remember, if it is warm, we will have available ice cream. And everybody loves the ice cream you can get here in Hanford. I want to thank you, Rob, for giving us this opportunity to talk to you and get our word out on this. And I think anybody who comes down to the car show as a spectator is going to have a wonderful time between the cars on exhibit, the vendors that are available, and the food that's here. We thank them all for coming, and we look forward to having a great day.
Okay, so let's review Saturday's events. The Breakfast Lions Pancake Breakfast inside the Civic begins at 7 a.m. The displays will remain open throughout the day except for 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for ceremony setup. The Carnegie Car Show will be held outside from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Century of Memories ceremony will begin at 3 p.m. and last approximately an hour or so. If you can't make it, you can watch live on the Hanford Insider Podcast YouTube channel. Subscribe to my channel to be notified when the broadcast begins. It's a big day for our town, and I sincerely hope that you'll join us. That's all the time we have for this week's show. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media or telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.